Earth Day is Friday, and a big part of the whole ecology picture is water quality. So Kelsey Messingale is here today. She's a watershed coordinator around here, and she's going to show us how to test some local water. It's good to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Paula.
Have you loved this kind of Earth Day ecology stuff, conservation stuff all your life?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was one of those kids that was outside like every second I could be, always camping and hiking and picking up trash around my neighborhood. So this was like the perfect segue for me.
Now it's your job.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell me what kind of water we're testing here and what we're looking for.
Yeah, so we focus on all of the water, whether that's streams or lakes or creeks, that is in Scott County. So we're looking at everything as far as let's say Pride Lake up in Scott County Park, all the way down to Duck Creek that flows right into the Mississippi. We're checking out all of it.
So everything that flows into the Mississippi, which we eventually drink, and it's filtered.
Yes.
Thankfully, it would have to be right. But there's a lot to be filtered. We're gonna show that right now. Show me what you brought today.
Yeah. So I've got an example here of one of the kits that we use to test the water quality out in the field. So we check for a number of different parameters, all of the different things that are important when considering is the water of good quality. So we have things like a transparency tube, this tall one here, and that checks to see how clear or murky the water is, which is important to a lot of the organisms that live in the water. We have some things like dissolved oxygen, which is also important to things like fish. Of course, they need oxygen to live in there. We also have some different chemicals that we test for, including ammonia and nitrates, and that's to see if there's any kind of pollutants that are making its way into the stream.
And then can something be done about that?
Absolutely. So we collect this data all throughout the year, over many years, to take a look at what's really going on in the streams and see if there's a trend. If we're noticing, say, that there's a lot of chloride, or like a salty substance that's coming up every spring, we can try and pinpoint that and maybe see that it's coming from road salt being applied every winter, and make recommendations to whoever is applying that, maybe the city, to put less in that area or to have some kind of buffer installed. There's a lot of different conservation practices that can protect that water, but the first step is figuring out what you're needing to protect.
Sure, because isn't it amazing how everything, it goes back to the water?
Oh yeah.
And then that's what we have to live on and
certainly
with. Yes.
Water is the foundation of life, and
right.
if it's not healthy, we are not healthy.
So this is important stuff. You brought some water, a sample of water from some source around here, and you want to test something in there. What do you want to show me?
Yeah,
today?
I'd love to show you pH. So this is a measure of the acidity of the water. So you can have some basic or acidic or alkaline water.
Okay.
Some different ranges there. And so typically we like to see our water within the 4 to 9 range, which is what is shown on the color chart here.
Let me show the camera there.
Absolutely.
So this is just full of test strips.
Yep.
Like you just pulled out, okay?
Yep.
So these are the colors we're looking at. And so ideally we want to be where, Kelsey, in that color range?
4 to 9, 7 is optimal, that's right in the middle. The whole range spreads 0 to 14, but 7 is perfect, 4 to 9 is acceptable.
Okay, all right.
So it changes pretty quickly.
Oh, it does, oh my goodness. Okay, so
So
it's quite green.
It is looking pretty green
like
right now.
Like limey green. Okay, so that looks, it doesn't look like any of those colors.
No, this one would probably fall about 3, so a little bit out of range. So if this were a sample that we were picking out of the field out in a stream, we would look to see what could be potentially infiltrating the water and affecting the pH there.
Wow, wow. Well, I know that you give folks a chance to do this on their own, and one that was coming up next week is full now, but there's a big one coming up in June.
Yeah.
And you said you're going to be testing even more waterways around here.
Yeah, so we test 60 sites throughout the county 3 times annually, and in the summer, as you mentioned, we go even beyond that, and we're actually looking at the organisms that are living in the water, because those can be indicators biologically of the water quality. If you have healthy water, you're going to have organisms that like healthy water.
So you're going to be, in June, you're going to be checking for bugs.
Yes, on top of this.
Is there a bug alive? You know, there was one fly in my house last week, and I don't know how he got in or from where he came, but we're going to do that on June 18th. And so when you go out on one of these, you know, citizen scientist journeys, you get all of this equipment to use that day.
Yeah, exactly. So whenever we do, we call them snapshot events because we're looking at water quality at that one point of time, a snapshot of the water quality.
Yeah, for that day, that moment. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So whenever we have those events, we have our volunteers come in, we provide a training, just a real quick training over coffee and donuts, of course, about how to use the equipment and, you know, why it's important, why we're collecting this data. And then they get to go out and do it and actually be in the field, down and dirty, collecting all the data, come back and celebrate all the amazing research, essentially, that they've done.
June 18th is the day for that. And is there a place they can go online right now just to kind of look at the information?
Absolutely. They can go to partners of scottcountywatersheds.org, and we have all kinds of great information on there about what a snapshot is and how to register for it.
Kelsey, thanks. Nature girl, and now it's your job, so that's a cool thing. Good to see you.
It's the best job there is.
I'll bet. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Paula.